Kahnawake community member Brandon Lahash says he was on his way towards the Clay Mountains on the morning of October 1st when he first noticed an SQ cruiser pulled over on the side of the road on Highway 132. Most Kahnawake residents know that the Mohawk territory is patrolled by the Kahnawake peacekeepers, and although he found it odd, he kept on driving. Yet, moments later, he looked into his rearview mirror and noticed the police cruiser was right behind him, lights flashing, signaling him to pull on over. Lahash says what happened next was extremely dangerous.
The first thing he did, he was halfway out of his car. He just yelled, "Put your keys on the dash." So I did what he said, and I yelled out at him, You're in your own jurisdiction, why'd you pull me over?" And then he got 2 feet out of the car and said, "Throw the keys on the ground." So I threw it on the ground, and he took out his gun. And then he continued to my vehicle and went around to the passenger door, opened it up with his, I believe it was his right hand that opened it up, and then he had 2 hands on his gun, and he was pointing inside at me with the finger on the trigger. So I yelled at him, "Keep your finger off the trigger." And then he lowered his gun down to the ground. And then he asked me for license and registration. He yelled it again. I told him, "I'm getting it. Keep your finger off the trigger." Yeah. So, anyways, I gave it to him. Called PKs. They were on speakerphone, and it seemed like as soon as the SQ officer heard the PKs on the phone, he made his expression was like, "Oh," and he walked to his car.
Lahash also placed a call to the Kahnawake peacekeepers informing them of the situation. They arrived on the scene within minutes. Peacekeeper Chief of Police Dwayne Zachary says the incident is problematic.
We arrived on the scene, and I had a conversation with the officers from the Sûreté de Québec, and they said, yeah, they tried to make a vehicle stop and that they had drawn their firearm.
So, in your investigation, once you arrived on the scene, what did the officers have to say for themselves in terms of drawing their guns at that point?
Well, only one officer admitted that he drew his firearm, and he said he did draw his firearm, and he said the reason for drawing his firearm was that he had felt threatened. He didn't go into much more detail than that, and I said, well, listen, the Kahnawake peacekeepers are responsible for law enforcement here. You should have never made any kind of vehicle stop. You should have contacted us immediately. He said that he's from the Sûreté de Québec and he has jurisdiction in the province of Quebec. Okay. And I said, well, this is Kahnawake, and the Kahnawake peacekeepers are responsible for law enforcement. And we have a protocol with the Sûreté de Québec, and he was totally oblivious. He didn't know there was a protocol. As I spoke to him a little bit longer, I was able to ascertain that because he told me that it was his first day in this unit, and he had never been here before, and he didn't realize. So after that I said, well, listen, this is the case, and before you come here or before anything, you should have contacted the Kahnawake peacekeepers.
Now, according to the Kahnawake peacekeepers, the SQ did come into Kahnawake, actually right here in the heart of the Clay Mountains area, which is also something that they're already not supposed to do, and that there is a protocol in place between the Kahnawake peacekeepers and the Sûreté du Québec.
We hear this quite a bit from other police forces. We didn't know, or whatever, and the responsibility is on their administration to make sure that their officers know. I immediately contacted their supervisors at headquarters, and they assured me that they would make them, read the protocol, educate them on it, but I was also told that they had hired about 10 new officers, and those 10 officers were not educated on the protocol. So, I mean, there's obviously an issue there, and I want to have some more discussions with the SQ to make sure that something like this doesn't happen again.
What was their reason for pulling him over in the first place?
Well, this vehicle, and this vehicle is not a vehicle that's registered in the area. We don't deal with this crew of SQ officers very often. We have more dealings with SQ Kahnawake, that sort of thing. So this vehicle was upfitted with a plate reading technology. So basically any vehicle that passes within the plate reader screen, it reads the plate and then it does a check. And apparently there was an issue with either his driver's license or the vehicle registration. So it flashes red for them, So I mean, to me, it's a traffic violation. It's a very minor reason to stop somebody. I mean, it's part of a police officer's job, but in this case, they should have just contacted us. I don't think there was any reason for it to come to, having a firearm drawn on someone.
Right. Well, we wanted to give the opportunity to the Sûreté du Québec to explain themselves and have a chance to explain the situation. So we came here to St. Catherine, to their head office, to do just that, and they put us in touch with the head of their public relations for the region, Madame Sergeant Joyce Kemp, and here's what she had to say. Sergeant Joyce Kemp of the SQ Public Relations Office told Kahnawake Mohawk TV that she hadn't received all the information on the file yet. Also, that they wouldn't normally comment on the particulars of an incident that was still under investigation. In a recent press release on the issue, the Mohawk Council says that they will be contacting the SQ to protest their lack of diligence in maintaining protocols in place between the SQ and the Kahnawake peacekeepers. Grand Chief Mike DeLille says that the fact that a weapon was drawn for an administrative infraction in an area that is outside of SQ jurisdiction is not only unacceptable, it is just plain dangerous, he continued. We appreciate that Peacekeeper Chief Dwayne Zachary immediately met with certain SQ officials, but that does not mean that the matter is closed. Reporting for Mohawk Television Network, I'm Regan Jacobs.